Thank you very much. And thank you for having me. Great to see all of you and meet most of you. I know a few people, including the sponsor today. As mentioned, my name is Shanahan. I'm an interpreter with Auburn State Recreation Area. You're probably looking at me like, what language do you speak? Besides English. I speak the language of the land. I translate nature, science, culture, history, recreation, safety to the people that come and visit the park, and to all people. So it's a really cool place to be in education. I really love my job. I love who I work with. I love where I work, and love bringing it to people like you. So when you're not in the park, it's kind of cool. I get to do both, to provide education in the park and then do a lot of community outreach. And so thank you again for having me. Auburn State Recreation Area. First, I want to do a brief park history. Raise your hand if you've been to Auburn State Recreation Area. I think that's just about everybody. What do you love to do in Auburn State Recreation Area? If you want to keep your hand up, if you want to share something you love to do in Auburn State Recreation Area. Hike! Anything else?
Rafting.
Run, rafting, yeah. For sure, there's tons to do, and I love to do all those things too, and it's convenient that I work there, because I get to do all those things at work sometimes. It's really, really fun, really great place to be. Now I want to share a brief park history of how we became a park, how we have these beautiful rugged river canyons available to us as public land, as a state recreation area to do these amazing activities in. I like to ask the question, whose land is it anyways? So does SpongeBob. Whose land is it? First, I like to break it down into who's managing the land. First, who's the first land manager of the land that we call Auburn State Recreation Area?
Natives.
First land managers. Ooh, I heard it. Say it louder. The Maidu tribe. The Maidu, the Nisenan, and the Miwok. It's a really big park, and Native people, not exactly bound to one area as we know boundaries today in politics. There's a lot of movement and trading and seasonal movements depending on what's available. So those are the first land managers and original land managers. They did a pretty darn good job. They did it for forever, since the beginning of time. So I'd like to acknowledge that as the groundwork for what Auburn State Recreation Area is and how it was originally managed. Frequent fires go through the park, or you can change the slide. Yeah. So the Nisenan, Maidu, and Miwok land, actively managing the land. There's this misconception that the Native peoples are living in the land and passively living in the land, but they're actively managing it. They're meticulously caring for it in order to produce life. It's a really, really cool way of land management. And they're still here, for sure, and still practicing their culture, their language is alive, so it's really something that I like to share, is that continuing history. Life didn't end for them, but it changed for them in 1848. What happened in 1848?
Gold Rush.
The Gold Rush, yes! Which ushers in the next era of land management. One more. Yes, the gold fields. The next era of land management, this was an era of extraction, of little concern for the Native people, little concern for the environment, a lot of what I think of as negative impacts on the environment and the park. The rivers were turned upside down looking for gold. And I think about, like, did the Native people know there was gold in the river? Do you think they did? I think they did. It was the shiniest rock out there. But did it have any value to them and their culture? No. But it had value to other cultures, and that's what we see happen during the gold rush. And during this time, we have a lot of different claims and a smattering of private land, and like I said, little concern for the environment, little concern for the people that existed there previously and continue to do so. So the gold fields. the next era of land management. Things changed again in 1964 or 1965. What changed in 1965? In terms of land management of Auburn State Recreation Area. Does anyone know? This is a little trickier.
Break ground on the dam.
Ooh, yeah, the dam. The federal government was like, we're gonna build a dam. Because 1964 was a big water year, huge flood. It washed out the 49 bridge, which still sits at the bottom of the river. Might get cleaned up soon. Pretty cool. It only took, since 1964? So the Bureau of Reclamation took the land by eminent domain, and it became federal land. So they've acquired this land, they're gonna build a dam. So do you think they cared a whole lot about what happened below the water line of the dam? Not really. But as you know, is there a dam there now? No. So in the meantime, while they're building this dam, they needed someone to manage it. So that's when State Parks comes in and says, all right, we have this federal land, 2 river canyons, it's gonna be a lake. We need State Parks to manage it. So State Parks, beginning in the early 70s, is managing this land as a state recreation area. They still own the land, and they take care of a lot of things, or don't take care of a lot of things, like the buildings we work in. We're getting paint on them soon, and new roofs, which is cool. Yeah. But we manage it, so anything in terms of recreation and trail use and all of the concessions, like the rafting companies, so we work with them and issue permits, manage the land as a recreation area, providing public safety and clear trails. We have a trails team. If you're out there hiking or biking and you see a downed tree, there's an email that you can send a picture and a GPS coordinate to. That is, I'll share at the end. If you're out there frequently, just come talk to me after. I'll give that to you. But we actively manage this land as a state recreation area. And so that is a brief history of Auburn State Recreation Area, where it came from, what it is now, and now it offers all these amazing recreational opportunities, which some of you already mentioned: hiking, biking, horseback riding. There's river rafting. We have a small lake, Lake Clementine, which you can take motorized vessels on, paddlecraft on, and there's a ton of different things to do. I think we're the most diverse recreation area in the state of California, because you can do all these different things. You can hunt in Auburn State Recreation Area. I like to say all the plants and animals are protected, except for 5 that you can hunt. So there's tons of different things you can do. There's a lot of fishing as well. So we're a state recreation unit, and with that comes a few things. Because of our history and being slated to become a reservoir, the primary purpose of the park is to recreate. So it's a land that can withstand heavy human impacts. Near a population center, which Sacramento, we have people even coming from the Bay Area a lot of times. And it's usually a man-made or a natural body of water. So when you think of a state park, what do you think of usually? A visitor center, maybe, campground. We have campgrounds, but we don't have a visitor center really. So a lot of people come to the park and don't even realize they're in a park, and that there are certain expectations that come along with that. That, oh, this is a state park and I should clean up after myself and maybe wear a life jacket, I don't know. There's a lot of things that come along with being a state recreation unit, and the idea of preservation and conservation isn't at the front of people's minds when they come and visit a lot of times. So that's my job, is to plant that seed in people's brain and hopefully inspire them to care a little bit more about this land that they're coming to visit. Advance a couple. So there's a couple of things. There's a lot of frequently asked questions that come about. So when you're working at the kiosk, which I did when I first started, so I started as a park aide, which we're hiring right now, by the way. If you know anyone, or maybe you're looking for a career change, super fun, great job. Get to work outside, you get to interact with a lot of different people, and you get to work in this office. You can advance the slide. So some frequently asked questions that we hear. Where's the Clementine Trail? Has anyone been to the Clementine Trail? It's across the curved bridge and to the left. That's my answer. So a lot of people will come without doing research of where they're going or without really knowing where they're going. Are there bears and mountain lions in Auburn State Recreation Area? Yes, there are. Should we be afraid of them?
Yeah.
No! I mean, yes, but no. If you're hiking with a group and you're hiking during the daytime, you don't really have to be afraid of them. They're off, and if you're running alone at dusk, that's when you should be afraid of them. You shouldn't do that. Don't do that. But if you're out during regular park operating hours, 8 a.m. to sunset, or sunrise to sunset, you don't really need to be concerned with them. Hiking groups, don't go out during those times. Don't feed them. Don't feed the bears. They're super cool. We have a little bear cub named Bummer. Bummer was hit on My Deer Road, and we were able to get him taxidermied and share Bummer's story. He's a baby bear, he's like a year old, and hopefully encourage people not to speed, and also teach people about the amazing adaptations of these animals that we live amongst. Where's the waterfall? I just tell people down. Because what we see here in this picture is what people are asking about. Where's the water? That's not a waterfall, that's a spillway. If you want to see the waterfall, there's like Calcutta Falls. Has anyone been to the Black Hole of Calcutta Falls or Canyon Creek Falls? It's on the Western States Trail over the arched concrete bridge. Yeah. People will come in the summer looking for that waterfall. I'm like, I got bad news. It's wet rocks. You're just getting to see wet rocks there. But it's still a great hike, and you get to hike along the river. It's beautiful. And how do you open the trash can is another, not question, but it's an observation, as I see people struggling with it a lot. You just push in and then you can open it. There's a small percentage of people that can't figure it out, and there's a small percentage of bears that can. There's a little bit of overlap. But litter is a big problem, and we have a great volunteer program called the Canyon Keepers, and we have a mounted patrol unit. Anyone in here ride horses or own a horse? Awesome. We have a mounted patrol unit that goes out on horseback, and they make educational contacts, they report down trees, trail conditions. They're super awesome. And then we've got the Canyon Keepers, which do a lot of different things like litter cleanup, they do trail education, they have a native garden that they manage. There's a ton of opportunities there. If you're interested in becoming a volunteer for Auburn State Recreation Area, reach out to me today, just come talk to me. I'd love to chat with you and share some of those opportunities with you. So those are questions that people ask. These are questions that I wished people asked, frequently asked. Well, questions I wish people frequently ask. Questions that when we have an emergency call, most of the time it could have been prevented. And we have a lot of emergency calls during the summer. And during this time of year for different reasons. What should I bring? When you're going out to hike or bike or whatever you like to do out in Auburn State Recreation Area, what should you bring? Water, thank you. How much? More than you think you need. Yeah, more than you think you need. I like to say, I take a big gulp every 10 minutes during the summer. And if it's over 100 degrees, I literally cannot drink enough. I'm just like pouring out sweat as fast as I can drink it. I'm sweating it. People don't realize that, so they'll come with like a coffee in the morning with no water and go for a hike, and then we gotta come out and get you. Don't make us do that. Bring water. Tell people if you know they're going out to hike, tell them bring more water than you think you need. What are the fire restrictions? Can I barbecue? No, you can't. Not during the summer. Really high fire danger. We're right next to the community of Auburn. There's a shaded fuel break which has been treated almost every year. Gets treated by different. Right now there's like it's a contracted company that came through by the Bureau of Reclamation, contracted it, and they accidentally rolled a log into one of our trucks. But high fire danger in the summertime, and people don't realize that, so they come down to the river and they want to barbecue, and they will try to like hide it in the bushes. Like, don't put it in the bushes, please. Leave it out in the open so we can see it. Yeah, so tell people about that too, is like, do the research. Wherever you're going to visit, do the research and know what the restrictions are, know what the conditions are like. So that's what I wish people asked, is just a little bit of that stuff about planning ahead. And you can find all that information on our website. Or you can call the office and talk to Linda, she's super nice. What is the most dangerous thing in Auburn State Recreation Area? Somebody said it. People, the river, you're fast. Usually people are like, mountain lions, bears, rattlesnakes. It's not any of those things. Actually, very few occurrences happen with those things. It's the river. The river is insanely dangerous. People are also pretty dangerous too. But the river is really dangerous, and it doesn't look that way. That looks pretty inviting, right? Who likes to swim in the summertime? Who's swam in the North and Middle Forks of the American River? And what time of year did you do it, Ken?
It just depends, May, June, July.
May, June, okay, different times of year. Is it the same river in April as it is in September?
No, it's much safer later in the summer.
It's much safer later in the summer. Is it safe still later in the summer? When somebody asks me, is it safe to swim here? I'm like, no! I'm not a fish. I can't breathe in the water. Swimming is a dangerous activity. You should be prepared to do it, and especially in a wild environment like this. You should definitely be prepared and wear a life jacket. Have a life jacket near you. Be ready for an emergency situation if it were to happen. But not the same river especially the North Fork, which flows as the rain falls and the snow melts. It's an undammed fork. The Middle Fork, however, is a dammed and moderated river. So it's gonna get a daily release, which is something to consider. Don't hop out onto the rocks in the middle of the river on the Middle Fork. The water's gonna go up, you're gonna get stuck. It happens every day. And we have 7 or 8 lifeguards this summer. Or last summer we had them, we'll have about the same number this summer. We're the first state park to have swift water lifeguards on our staff. Because normally I have to call CAL FIRE, and and we still do that, but we have 8 lifeguards that are making a ton of contacts. And the best time to save somebody is before they're in trouble. So just talk to them. And so that's what I do a lot, is preventative contacts and going to schools, going to community groups and telling them about these dangers. Because the water is, it giveth, but it taketh away. There we go. It giveth, but it taketh away. It's a really dangerous resource, as well as being super important one. But yeah, last summer we had 6 drownings just in the park. That's not counting outside the park, or outside of what our area is. So very dangerous, but also very beautiful. The best way to stay safe in the water is to wear a life jacket, to not go in during the springtime when the water's high, and to just look after each other. Talk to people, look after each other. Most drownings happen in bigger groups, which is crazy. You'd think the more eyes, the better, right? But just look after each other. Who is drowning in our rivers? Who do you think it is? It's mostly young men, surprisingly. So reach out to those people if you know them, that if you have young people that you know are going to the river, just tell them to be really careful. All right, that's my water safety soapbox. All right. Wait, what was can you go back one more? Yeah, is it safe to swim? Okay, yeah, you can go forward. So, do any of you want to live the parks life? Are any of you looking for a job? Kind of sounds like fun. If you know someone that is, we are hiring. California State Parks, Auburn State Recreation Area is hiring park aides right now. That's working in the kiosk, working in the booth. Great, fun summer job. That's how I started, and now I'm an interpreter, so it's a full-time position in education. So there's paths forward. You could go into law enforcement, you can go into interpretation. There's tons of different things that you can do in state parks, and some of them are on the next slide. Tons of different things. So if you're in an industry right now, I could probably relate it back to state parks. There's things that you don't realize that state parks does. Any questions about Auburn State Recreation Area, about the river, about something you saw in nature? I'm happy to answer them. Yeah. It's 40,000 acres. They're vertical acres though. Right on. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, pleasure to meet all of you, and be a part of this community for today. Thank you.